And now, your official TigerBait postgame show with Mike Scarborough and Preston Guy starts now.
All right, well, LSU drops another opener, and all my media friends that were predicting 10-2, I warned you, I told you.
Let's see. All right, guys. Did Mike? I'm trying to figure out what the heck's going on. I thought my internet just crashed out. I think we lost Mike. I just got a message saying my power blinked. So I'll run it here. I apologize about that, guys. I thought it was my internet that crashed there. That's why I was on my phone to check the stream. Boy, our first post-game stream is going about as well as LSU's opener. LSU, of course, drops its fifth consecutive opener. Absolutely brutal loss for the Tigers. The sad part is there was a lot that I liked about LSU in this game, but ultimately you didn't get the win, so none of it really matters. We'll talk about the good, the bad, the ugly. We're going to get Mike Scarborough back on here soon, but I'm going to go through some comments first here. Let's see. We got a super chat from Dane Bergeron here. Frank's running back rotation sucks again. There was some Les Miles levels of stupid offensive play calling. The only thing that needed to be added was a stupid short side option. The Gary Croton special. It's Groundhog Day again. Yeah, I had a prediction that I think the biggest boogaboo this season for LSU is going to be and will be the running back rotation. Of course, they did go with Caleb Jackson early. That's what I wanted to see, but he only had 18 yards on 6 carries. LSU's running game was anemic. They went with Josh Williams a bunch, 9 carries, 33 yards. And then Josh Emery breaks off 2 big runs, and they roll with Emery as if, he's just the dude. I thought they got a little heavy-handed with Emery, personally speaking. Okay, I thought they saw a big run, they saw a big catch, and then they just assume he's magically the guy, and you put him in clutch situations where you really need to convert. And that's really what tonight comes down to, guys. What it comes down to is LSU could not make the plays when it mattered the most. Mike just sent me a message saying, hold the fort. Oh, I think we got him back. LSU could not make the plays when they absolutely needed to. They got to the red zone, 4th and 3, couldn't convert. And I think that a lot of that has to do with a running game that was greatly struggling. And there's the man, he's back. Mike, what the heck happened? I thought my Wi-Fi died. And so I'm sitting there on my phone trying to figure out what the heck happened. I put on our stream to see if it's even live. Oh, he backed out. He backed out again. I don't know what's going on. But anyways, yeah, what was happening was I put on the stream to go live, and I actually got hit with that double YouTube ad thing. Like, okay, I got 2 unskippable ads before I even start. And then I looked up and I saw it was live. I was like, uh-oh. That means I've been sitting there. And, of course, a lot of people said frozen. Check this out. Preston looking like a Harry Potter moving painting. Yeah, no, I deserve that, man. My bad. I didn't know how to react in that situation there. But, yeah, no, the theme of the night was USC made plays when they mattered, and LSU didn't. LSU just struggled to make the plays when they mattered. And again, I attribute that to a very struggling running game. But if I'm highlighting the things I liked and the things I didn't like tonight, I'm going to go ahead and say the running game on offense was rough. Now, on paper, you're going to look up and you're going to say, hey, You got 26 carries for 117 yards. That's not terrible, man. They got a handful of runs that broke off big. John Emery Jr. breaks off a 39-yard rush. Okay, you take out that 39-yard rush, and your running game is anemic tonight if you take away that one big run. Okay, and the thing is about it, it wasn't consistent. You could not rely on them to get 3 yards. When you don't have a running game that can get you 3 yards, that's brutal. Mike, are you actually back this time?
Yeah. As soon as I started talking, everything went black. I don't know what happened.
Man.
I had to reboot my computer twice.
Wow.
I'm assuming I had too many browsers open while also downloading player interviews at the same time. But yeah, I'm back now. So,
well, let's get to a really hard hitting question because we got a super chat. I'm gonna not ease you in at all, kind of like Verge Osbury does with LSU scheduling, where they don't ease into anything ever. They go straight for a big opener 5 years in a row, drop all 5, and then they go to Clemson next year. Brian Debellock, at what point do we admit BK is not the answer?
Look, like I said on the show a week or two ago, when people thought I was just being provocative, but at some point, whether it's this year or next year, I think you have to have a playoff appearance. And so, now you're behind the 8 ball. We talked about this USC game being a must-have. Yeah, the schedule sets up nice. Now you're going to have to wait till Ole Miss to get this really awful taste out of your mouth, and you're going to need to win that game at home. But you can look at the roster. You know what you're going to lose to the NFL draft. And the schedule will be tougher next year. All these games that you have at home this year are going to be away next year, and then you'll see what rotates in. You go on the road at Clemson, another salty opener, regardless of what you thought of Dabo Swinney and how awful they looked against Georgia yesterday. And so, to me, if you don't make the playoff this year or next, I think it's going to get downright toxic around here.
I mean, you're absolutely right. But Mike, the standard is for a program like LSU is you need to average making the playoffs every single year. I'm not saying actually you can't ever have a year you don't make the playoffs.
No,
but I am saying if you miss the playoffs, you need to offset that with a playoff win. Does that make sense?
I think for a program like LSU and as competitive as the SEC is, especially adding Texas and Oklahoma, 14-team playoff, I think it's unrealistic to say every year.
Well,
but
12.
I think 3 out of 5 years in the playoffs is I don't think that's a low standard.
But okay, if you're making 3 out of 5, Mike, don't you think that you should at least have 2 playoff wins from that 3 out of 5? Isn't that a fair statement?
I'm not even talking about playoff wins. I'm talking about getting there.
But that's my point, Mike, is if you miss it, right? I think that you need to offset missing it with some success in the playoffs. You need to, let's say you make it every year and you're one and done. Okay, fine. But, if you do miss it, you need to have something to kind of bring that average back up to making it every year.
And then the other point is getting a 10th win in a Texas Bowl or anything that puts you in the Mark Richt, less miles without a national championship territory. So what did I miss? You got any super chats? I see Dane.
We got to the 2 super chats already. We got to his. I already talked to his. I appreciate Dane Bergeron and all his support over the years. Look, I want to be very candid here, and I appreciate that Brian Kelly put a lot of the blame on him for this presser. I appreciate that he wasn't blaming other people. He said, I have to do better. He got mad. He slammed his fist on the table, and it is what it is. Here's the big question. We're going to go more in depth as to what was good and bad in the game. Every single year, we've actually made a pattern of this for half a decade here on the TigerBait YouTube channel, where we debate, okay, well, was this an issue where USC is actually a really good football team and LSU fell short? Is it both teams are going to be pretty bad this year? And I think I think USC is going to be pretty good. I don't think they're going to be an elite team. I think they're going to be pretty good. I just think LSU missed on some things, and I think LSU is going to be a pretty decent team this year. I feel really comfortable about my 9-3 prediction after seeing tonight, because I mean, Nussmeier, he completed 29 of 38. At times, he looked like an absolute surgeon. 2 touchdowns. Another one he should have had, by the way, where Lacey was just a hair out of bounds. They end up getting 0 points on that drive. They couldn't put it together when they needed to. I think LSU's just team this year. That's what it comes down to.
You had multiple drives where it was a 3rd and long or semi-long, and hit a receiver that was short of the sticks, well short of the sticks. You had at the end of the game, you had the 2nd down and totally missed Aaron Anderson.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, he had a few he missed, handful.
And look, I'm sorry. You're again where Brian Kelly's teams come out in the opener and they just don't look like they're ready yet. Like they needed another week of preparation. Issues. I'm sorry, 10 penalties for 99 yards. We can talk about those Big 12 refs all you want. That is absolutely unacceptable. And again, look, I feel like I'm constantly picking on Josh Williams, but I'm sorry, he is just not a dynamic running back. He's not. John Emery comes in off a knee injury, and he gives you a spark. Caleb Williams, I keep pushing for him, but look, you got people asking, is he too slow? And I don't think he's too slow, but is he maybe too heavy right now?
He looked it tonight, man. I'll say this. He only had 6 carries, and I don't remember a single one of those 6 carries where I saw a good seam where he would have hit it hard. I do remember that first 39-yard run for John Emery Jr. being a really good seam, and it really felt like right place, right time situation for John Emery there, and they kind of just went with him. I think on that first run, I think Caleb Jackson takes that one to the house personally, because I still think he has more top end speed, but time will tell. Time will tell. I wish I could have seen Caleb Jackson with more open space to determine if he was just too heavy or not.
Yep. Devin Johnson with a super chat. We deserve Notre Dame fans bashing us. They are right about BK.
He also had another super chat. Did you see the second one he followed up with?
No.
I'll put it up there. I'm done with BK. Tired of excuses. 8-4. Look, and that's how you should be as a fan. You shouldn't accept mediocrity. You should not think like, okay, well, 9-3 is okay. That's fine. You know,
I'm going to say this. There is some bright. I think there are some things that were some positives. I think what you saw out of that defensive front, I think they're getting everything they can out of those guys, which to me is acceptable. I think Savion Jones probably had his best game as a Tiger. What Peoples has done with that group, I like everything I saw coming off the edge. Where there was issues was the guys that have had issues for years, and they're still out there playing. And whether it's Major Burns or Sage Ryan, you're still having issues with those guys. And you're talking about the penalties. Jordan Gilbert with that penalty, that was a backbreaker. Kyron Lacey with his gesture after scoring a touchdown, basically put USC in prime position to get a touchdown, and they got it. We can debate whether Kelly should have took the 3 points versus going for it, but you lose by a touchdown. And so, yeah, there's a lot of negatives with this game, but I think there was also some positives. Mason Taylor played a fantastic game. I mean,
that drop he had.
Look,
was ugly,
when you have the false starts out of Will Campbell, you just know it's not your night.
Yeah, 10 penalties for 99 yards. That's unacceptable. A lot of bonehead penalties. Okay, so can we talk about The delay of game on the defense, I thought that was total bogus. And then, in fact, on the final drive there, LSU did the exact same thing, and somehow that's a false start all of a sudden. I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch that and see what details were different. But to me, I think there's really three big things that really cost you this game. It's your running game was anemic. Yeah, sure, one good run by John Emery makes it look okay. Every other run was anemic. Your defensive backs couldn't cover. I mean, 27 for 36 for 378. Yes, they made some plays here and there. Yes, they showed improvement, but you still got toasted. And the penalties, of course. So, and by the way, the DBs were about what we saw in practice, where the front seven and defensive line was making plays and kind of turning heads sometimes in practice, and DBs were mostly still getting beat, not embarrassed, I would say, but beat, and that's what we saw. But overall, that defense was greatly improved from a year ago. I'm not trying to sugarcoat here, guys. I'm trying to tell you exactly how it is. That was a much better defense than we saw a year ago. Unfortunately, that offense did take some steps back from Jaden Daniels a year ago. That just auto run game by just plug Jaden and roll. You miss that so much, man. You miss that.
Yeah, I the running game to me it was a disappointment until John Emery got uncorked. And look, if Caleb Jackson's going to be heavy, if Josh Williams is going to average about 3 yards a carry, then I'd like to know where Caden Durham's at, because right now it looks to me like Caleb can be your power guy, but as far as a guy who's a dynamic guy that can make the big play and give you a 20-yard run or more, from what we've seen, that only guy right now is Emery.
I don't know that Emery was that good. I think he just had a lane. I think the offensive line on one play blocked well. And I think outside of that, he wasn't great. I mean, here's the deal. He had 61 carries. You take away 39 on that big play there. That means on 9 carries, he had, 22 yards? If he doesn't break that big play, and by the way, I think 3 out of 4 of the other running backs probably take that to the house. I really do, because he had open space. He had to beat his men with speed. I don't think it was really that great of a game. If you take away that one play, we're talking about 9 carries for 22 yards. He was the worst of the lot. I think we have to be real. Yes, he had a good catch. I get that. Again, I think it was more right time, right place for John Emery. I don't know that any of the running backs were particularly
good. I'm going to disagree with you on that one.
Well, that's fine. I'll say the bigger issue was the offensive line did not block well for the running game. There was not very many holes to work with.
I'm just ready to see something other than Josh Williams the majority of the time. That's just me. I think he's a very even keel football player. I love the story, but as far as a dynamic player that can make a big play and something big happen and take a ball to the house, I don't see him being that guy. To me, he's the equivalent of Kateri Poole on the LSU women's basketball team, meaning a strong, solid player, but Michaela Williams is coming next year.
I'll say this. He's one of the best downfield blockers I've ever seen at LSU.
He's A+ on that.
Great Absolutely. Receiver, great role player, great teammate, great story. It's just, man, I just don't think he has that breakaway speed. I don't think he's – if you were to rank who the most athletic backs on the team were in terms of strength, power, speed, acceleration, I'm not sure that he doesn't rank at last of the group. So I get what you're saying. I think you needed to give Caleb Jackson more than 6 tries, especially late in the game. You didn't go back to him and see anything from him. You just went John Emery.
I don't know that I like Caleb Jackson at 235.
He might need to lighten up a little bit.
Maybe Hartwing, why can't we play opening cupcakes like everybody else? LSU likes the exposure. LSU likes the money. ESPN and LSU and the SEC's relationship is a big part of it. With the playoffs, I think most coaches view it as a loss isn't going to hurt you. But when you see Alabama do what they did in their opener, and a lot of other teams. I think it sure would be nice for LSU to get an opening game like that. But look, you how many tens of thousands of LSU fans were in Las Vegas for multiple days and looked forward to this trip and had a good time? They didn't enjoy the game, and maybe they're kicking themselves right now for spending. A lot of couples are spending a minimum of $6,000 getting there. Yeah, maybe they're regretting it now. Brad David, how do you think the O-line did overall? I think it's a mixed bag. I wonder how Brad Davis would between penalties and not being able to power through, and I'd give him a C+, B-.
I would say you have to split this in two because it's like Jekyll and Hyde here for your offensive line. Pass blocking, elite. I mean, A+ for pass blocking. We're talking about 38 dropbacks, right? 0 sacks, and I don't even remember Nussmeier even really getting pressured. Maybe a handful here and there, and they brought some pressure at times. They were absolutely the Great Wall on terms of pass blocking, but then run blocking, I mean, it was pretty putrid. I don't see how you give run blocking anything higher than a C-. So maybe that averages out to somewhere in the B area, but I mean, that run blocking is concerning, and I kind of knew that there would be some struggles just shifting how they play because it's, Jane Daniels and company last year, they didn't have to do any inside the tackle running hardly. And they were doing, at first, they did a handful of things to kind of manufacture a running game. They did like a fake jet sweep counter. I don't think they did enough of that creativity as the game went on. As the game went on, they saw John Emery break open a big run, and then they just kind of assumed he would continue doing that, and he didn't.
All right, let's hear from Kenny Haines.
Kenny Haines is a proud 1989 graduate of LSU Law School with a passion for justice. Kenny stands out as the only lawyer in the state, board certified in both appellate practice and family law. Drawing from 34 years of trial experience, Kenny has navigated the most complex aspects of real people's lives. If you need help in Northwest Louisiana with a family issue, legal issue, or a highly skilled trial attorney, call Kenny 318-222-2100.
And of course, Kenny is the unofficial official attorney of TigerBait.com and a valuable member of our Tiger Den community on message board on TigerBait.com. And he's in Las Vegas with his wife right now. And I'm hearing my phone ding, and I'm pretty sure that could be him. And he's one of the unhappy campers in Las Vegas. And so, by the way, our Brian Kelly post game, I think we got it up quicker than anybody else. That's up on our YouTube channel, and Garrett Nussmeier is also uploaded. So check that out after the show's over with. And let's get to some more comments. Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of comments about these openers and fifth straight year. I see Brian Driscoll's name come up. Yeah. Is that him or is that somebody else?
I assume
that's not the real
else.
Brian.
Yeah, I don't think it's the real one. No. Corey Rogers, even with the trash offensive play calling, we would have won it if not for the officiating. I hate to sound like that guy blaming the refs, but bruh, we really not going to talk about the refs like really? Look, there were some bad calls in there, but there was some bonehead plays by LSU players. And I mean, I might give you 2 of those 10 that were, if you want to go that route, the supposed clap and all that early on. Anything else you want to give, Preston? Maybe one? So here's a big one that stands out, and maybe I'm off here. Maybe I need to watch a little bit more of this. That red zone pass interference called on PJ Woodland, it really looked like the receiver went into Woodland. Like Woodland was just playing his ground with the hands up, and the receiver went into Woodland. I thought that was kind of a bogus call, and I think that was 3rd down too. So that ended up giving them a touchdown. There was a handful, but mostly it's LSU with their boneheaded plays, like Kyron Lacey popping off a gun sign at a player's head. I mean, before that, I was thinking like, man, these refs are kind of screwing LSU. Of course, they call it on a dance or whatever. Then I see that play and I'm like, yo, dog, are you kidding me? You're never not going to get a call if you pretend to pop off a gun in someone's face. Dumbass play by Kyron Lacey, who otherwise played an outstanding game. He looked exactly everything we had been seeing in practice we saw in the game. Just you can't do stuff like that. So yeah, no, there's some we're too negative. Yeah, let me tell you, we're probably the least negative LSU
Let me tell you
show.
something. I peeked in on a couple of other shows, and I mean, between the 4-letter words and if we're too negative, I don't know what those other shows are.
Probably the cleanest show on the internet tonight. We're probably the only sober show on the internet tonight.
Yeah. Brian Burgess, if Woodland had turned his head, I don't think that flag would have been thrown.
Yeah.
CB Allen, LSU is a 7-5, 8-4 team at best. You know, I've got a little running joke that I play with the media when we're at practice. When we see something that's kind of iffy, I'll walk by a media guy and I'll go 7-5. Jacques Doucet will say, "Yep, 7-5, huh, Scarborough?" You know, but yeah, I was closer to 8-4 than I was to 10-2, and Preston will verify that. And so,
yeah, for sure.
I
thought he was going to go 8-4 for a little while. I really did.
I wanted to go 8-4. I think partially why I did is because I wanted to avoid the heat.
Yeah,
but
I wanted to go 10-2, but then I'm really glad I did some looking in the mirrors. I broke down my predictions for all the other seasons here with TigerBait, and I realized I was about a game too sunshine pumpy overall. There's a couple seasons where I was worse, but mostly
that's why I wanted to get Nagy on. Nagy was at 9-3, and then he went 10-2 later in the week. I was wanting to get him on in the pregame if we could. We did an impromptu pregame show today. I was wondering if he's going to be 11-1 before kickoff. The way
yeah. So, anyways, look, if I'm accounting for my own bias, I was like, look, I got to go a game down. If I'm on the edge, I'm going to go 9-3, and I'm pretty glad I did. I think that's looking pretty good right now.
Yeah.
By the way, 9-3 would not be good enough to make the playoff in all likelihood this year. You have a very slim chance of making it in at 9-3, and I don't see anything on LSU's schedule that suggests 9-3 would be good enough this year.
There you go. I'm not gonna look if Notre Dame fans want to come in here and say I told you so. That's fine. If you keep it clean, you can participate in the show. Always Irish. Big game. Brian strikes again.
Yep.
Yeah.
Take your shots, man. This is your time to do it. You know, LSU fans won't hold back when Notre Dame loses to Marshall or whatever. But yeah, this is you shouldn't hold back. You should have fun.
Hal Jubin's asking if you still think 9-3. You're still sticking with it?
Yeah, I'm not quite adjusting off because here's the deal. I saw two teams that I thought were better than LSU on the schedule, and my thought was that mediocrity will find a way to manifest itself, and LSU's going to drop one they shouldn't, and that looks pretty good for this one. I picked Texas A&M to beat LSU, and I kind of like looked at that game last night. I was like, God, they look dreadful. Connor Wegman was god awful. Do you think Connor Wegman throws for 378 on this defense?
That A&M team is going to be better by that time, and
maybe.
And I don't know how much credit you want to give USC or how good you think they're going to be.
Well, I think USC is going to be rock solid. You know, I don't think they're going to win a national championship. I'm not declaring them a playoff winner or anything like that, but I think you're going to be all right. They look pretty good.
Texas A&M to me is still a game that you don't put
on the road.
The home team always wins that game.
So, but I wasn't quite comfortable picking LSU to lose Texas A&M. The way I looked at it is like there's like 4 games LSU has in that 30 to 55% chance to win range games. I'm sorry, chance to lose. And I was like, well, LSU's not going to win every single one of these games. If they have a 40% chance to lose, they're going to drop one, and I just didn't know which one. And what the hope is that this was the one. This is the one. I thought for most of the game, LSU actually controlled the game. You know, LSU was outgaining them for most of the game. You just needed one final defensive stop to close it out. Even after screwing up a lot of crucial situations, and it was a bit much to ask this defense. I think the defense was greatly improved. I like what I saw out of the front seven. I liked what I saw of the defensive scheme. Guys were making plays that they wouldn't even sniff a year ago. There was times where they commanded the game. Like there was that one drive right before LSU went to go tie the game where they batted 2 balls down in 4 plays. So there was a lot to like. I think that this defense a year ago with that offense might be talking about big things that they accomplished a year ago. However, they didn't have this defense a year ago. So it's a tough night. And,
this defense with last year's team have been an 11-1 team. Maybe more.
That's what I'm getting at. I really don't want to say what I think they would be, but it's lofty. This is not last year's offense. It's a pretty good offense. It's about what I expected. I thought that they would execute a little better in the red zone.
All you needed last year was a defense that could force a couple of more punts each game.
Yeah.
All right. Stroubes, everybody. Here we go. TigerBait Live shows proudly brought to you this football season by Stroubes Seafood and Steaks, 107 3rd Street, downtown. Stroubes prides itself on providing a 5-star dining experience for a reasonable price, locally owned with ownership in the building, taking a daily level of pride in the food and service you just won't see from any corporate establishment. Stroubes features a full menu of specialty meats, including USDA prime black Angus steaks, 100% certified Wagyu New York strip. And for those looking for something outside of red meat, they offer items such as dry-aged pork chop, black truffle lobster pasta, redfish, and much more. Book your reservation online tonight at Stroubes.com. Make sure to let them know TigerBait sent you in. And by the way, that I always say it, that cowboy ribeye you see on the screen, that was mine, and those potatoes and the dessert and the drinks. And it was a fantastic meal, one of the best meals I've ever had in Baton Rouge. And Stroubes, what a fine restaurant. And check them out. And like I said, be sure to tell them TigerBait sent you. Why do the players act so reckless? Asked Brendan McCarthy. I mean, some of that stuff and some of the guys that were repeat offenders, I kind of felt like maybe the coaches should have lit into them a little bit harder than they did on the sideline. But to me, it's look, you expect some things in a game one. You work the wrinkles out. You're going to have some issues. But this is 3 straight years under Brian Kelly where you've got these games where I personally feel they're not prepared, or they haven't gone over the finer details, or maybe they needed another week of preparation, and they just almost like they had their camp cut a week shorter than everybody else's. Does that make sense? You're muted, Preston.
Yeah, sorry, muted myself for the commercial. I think there's a strong argument that under Brian Kelly, these teams aren't making the plays when they matter. Those little tight, small decisions, and it's just a matter of preparation to make those. There's also a discipline aspect that can be highly questioned tonight. I think there's an argument that, until Brian Kelly proves me wrong on this, that he needs to open up with a cupcake. He's not a good opening coach. That's what he's proven in the last 3 years to me. And I think he needs to take a lot of criticism and take it very seriously. And maybe Verge needs to start working with him and say, look, you're not doing good in these big games. I mean, look, hate on Les Miles for all you want in these opening games. He brought a squad to town, man. And I think that we're not seeing that same killer instinct out of LSU. Under Brian Kelly. I think that this is a very legitimate criticism that because of his poor coaching in opener games, I think that LSU needs to adjust scheduling and give us a week 0 cupcake, for the love of God. Give them a warm-up game. They need it.
Well, you're not going to have that for a long time because the openers are already set in stone.
Yeah, well, unless you schedule a 0, you could schedule a week 0 game still, but
that's not
that
happening.
would be hard to do. Well, they apparently don't like week 0 games. I wonder if there's some sort of scheduling conflict, like you have to have school open up by a certain date to do a week 0 game or something like that, or some sort of approval process. Because it seems to me like
Oh, yeah, I mean, look, you got Clemson the next 2 years, and they're talking about going to Ireland to play.
yeah,
What year is that going to be? 27.
yeah. Well,
Who's going to be who's going to be the opponent in that one?
Yeah.
Notre Dame.
It's one of those things when you drop 5 straight openers, everybody needs to come under fire. The program, the athletic director, the scheduling director, the head coach, the last head coach, the fans. I mean, everybody needs to come under fire when you do something
you
that
don't blame the fans, man. They showed up and they spent a fortune.
Yeah.
It's not a cheap trip to go to Las Vegas, and a lot of folks got down there earlier than Thursday and Friday even. And so
I was being metaphorical for just saying blame everything. You know what I mean? Everything has gone wrong. Everybody needs blame. Everybody needs to look in the mirror.
Nuss Bus, at least he played amazing despite terrible play calling.
Do you think offensive play calling was terrible?
There were some times where I couldn't stand. I didn't understand there was one drive that was 2 straight runs to Josh Williams. I don't know. There was multiple series where I didn't like the play calling, but then, I mean, heck, the opening series though, I thought it was great. They just didn't get any points out of it. I need to go. I'm going to rewatch this game tomorrow and chart it a little bit better and look at it backwards and forwards.
I don't think the play calling was an issue. Maybe a couple key moments it was an issue, but ultimately you put up 421 of offense. You moved the ball pretty well for most of this game. It just seems like there was a lot of third and manageable situations you couldn't convert on. I mean, you went, 5 of 13 on third down, 1 of 2 on fourth down. Maybe in those, what is that, 9 calls where you couldn't convert on third or fourth down, maybe that comes into call. But I think for the most part, they moved the ball well.
You want to take a few more comments? You run it a little bit, Preston.
This game gave me 2015 Brandon Harris vibes with all of them runs. I don't know where you're getting at with that. I mean, they ran the ball 26 times, but I mean, this was no Brandon Harris offense tonight. I assure you that much. Nuss was cooking for the most part. Let's see here. We got a super chat here. You got BK and we got Denbrock. Thank you. It must be a Notre Dame fan in the chat.
Without peeking, Preston, how many views do you think BK's pressers got on our channel right now?
Without peeking, 2,500.
12,300.
Oh man, that's gonna pop off.
And so when you see a number like that, folks, that is everybody nationally coming to enjoy the LSU melt. And it didn't help that it's not hurting. I think that the thumbnail is right when BK pounded his fist on the table. Yeah.
Rob
S-Facts, Brian Kelly's a clown. LSU deserves better. Sorry, fellas, you're great. Both awesome analysis. Thank you, Brendan, for that. Black Connection. I'm not mad. I figured we were an 8-win team at best. Black Connection, I think you're probably about where I was at. And I will say this, though. You guys know I've been hard on that defensive line. I really like what I saw out of that group today. I did. I'm not saying your interior guys are future NFLers, but I think they gave you everything they're capable of and maybe a little bit more. And I think maybe they're going to get better each week. And I think so that gives Bo Davis credit. And I think Peoples with what he did with the edge rushers. Savion Jones played his best game as a Tiger, I think. Swinson,
the defensive line.
Swinson, Womack. And I want to watch him again. And so, and I see Devontae Reed up here. Also, Whit Weeks is a better linebacker than Perkins.
A lot of people
you saw out of Weeks. Penn had a mess up there when they hit the tight end that got past him. But I thought Weeks played well. Perkins had his moments.
If you
I
had
need
to
to go back.
guess who the leading tackler was in this game, we'll do the no peeking rule again. Who would you say the leading tackler was tonight?
I'm probably going to go Penn.
Not even close. Penn had 3. The leading tackler, Harold Perkins, with 8 tackles. So a lot of people talking about him having a quiet night. Yeah, he didn't make any big plays, no tackles for a loss. He had half a tackle for a loss. He was your leading tackler. So he was around the ball doing his thing tonight.
I like the linebacker group.
I think they did well as a whole. I think the front 7 did well as a whole. I think the front 7 showed tremendous improvement from a year ago. I still think the DBs are a little behind. I think you're looking at those guys, and there are some young guys there. Let me be a little bit more of a bearer of bad news before we get to that comment. We'll get back to that in a second. But on this offense and defense, you're looking at losing 16 starters this season because you got CJ Daniels, who will be gone. He's a senior. Kyron Lacey, he'll be gone. He's a senior. You're going to lose 4 out of 5 of that offensive line. We've all talked about that. You're probably going to lose Mason Taylor. You might lose Garrett Nussmeier. Josh Williams will be gone. So that's effectively 9 players on your offense gone, 9 starters. Your defensive line, your entire 4 men on the defensive line, all seniors, right? Greg Penn, Harold Perkins, gone. And by the way, Wes Weeks, who's a reserve, but he's gone too. And then in your defensive backfield, you've got Major Burns will be gone. So effectively, that's 16. That's 7 on defense, 9 on offense. You'll be replacing next year. It is a veteran team, and you got to keep this recruiting class together. It is an elite, outstanding recruiting class that Brian Kelly and company have put together. Of course, you got the number 1 player in the country coming in. You got to keep it together, man. You cannot tank this season. You got a lot you're still playing for, especially in this era of the 12-man playoff. You got to keep your heads up, keep focused, and keep on playing. And ultimately, if you win out or you go 10-2, this game doesn't matter. You got to keep your head up, man. It's not like the old days where one loss can legitimately derail your season, or in Florida State's case last year, 0 losses. If you take care of business and win 10 games, you will be in the playoffs. And more importantly, you keep this recruiting class together.
Thoughts on Ashton Stamps? I like what I see out of Ashton Stamps. Look, for every guy on that defense that had a bad play tonight, they probably had 8 or 9 really good ones. I mean, this defense is absolutely improved. I just think the overall total package was not there for the LSU team, and those 10 penalties were a killer. And I think between offensive play calling, lack of a deep threat in the passing game, I'm not going to say Chris Hilton was going to, give you a Malik Neighbors type of performance if he were healthy. But I think they need more of a deep passing game than they had tonight. You've got a lot of guys who are underneath guys and slant guys. I mean, heck, how long was it before we actually saw a deep ball thrown? I mean, it almost seemed like the first one was in the 3rd period.
Yeah, well, it was the balls he threw away. Yeah, I never thought in a Garrett Nussmeier-led offense we'd be talking about not enough pushing the ball downfield, but here we are. It was a lot of safe underneath passes, and you kind of wish they were a little more vertical at times. I guess that's another gripe. But again, I have trouble complaining about the passing game when, you go – let's read this off. I mean, there was a point where he basically had completed 90% of passes. He was 29 of 38 for 304, 2 touchdowns, and of course that interception on the final drive, which was an ugly throw, but it's a desperation situation. It's hard to really hold that against the guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Michael Duyon with a super chat. Thank you for that. Thank you, all of you guys, for the super chats. They need to let Nuss be Nuss, way too conservative on 3rd down. And did you chart those 3rd down play calls? Again, there were multiple 3rd down play calls where it was hitting underneath receivers short of the stick, and drives were ended due to it.
a lot of underneath throws, and a lot of it was taking what USC gave them, because I noticed they called routes that were deeper. It's just they recovered, and Nussmeier took the check down.
All right. We got a lot of Devontae Reed. We lost 5 straight overs while Bama gets to play Western Kentucky. I like the Western Kentucky first game.
That's a good one. TJ Finley. And TJ Finley was talking some smack to Bama too in that one.
I like old TJ, but man, I mean, he's kind of like the tight end at Miami, isn't he? What is this, 9 years he's been playing college football?
Him and Max Johnson, which, by the way, Max Johnson had a season-ending leg break this week. Feel bad for him. I reached out to his father and told him I feel bad for him. And Big Bad Brad was just there and warm as welcoming as always. So, but yeah, those guys. Let's see. This is 3rd school for Max Johnson and the 4th school for DJ.
Guys,
Finley.
Please hit that like button if you're enjoying the show, or if you appreciate it. If you're an LSU fan, maybe you're not enjoying it, but maybe you want to vent. But either way, please do us a favor and hit that like button. That helps us with the YouTube algorithm. It'll push us out tomorrow for people who want to sleep it off and watch what we did tonight. But let's hear from Genesis of Lafayette.
Got a brand new attitude, like bing bang boom on a pink balloon, like I just do what I wanna do, like ooh, brand new.
Do yourself a favor, get over to Genesis of Lafayette. There's a reason why they sell more Genesis than any dealer in the state of Louisiana. You got to test drive the GV70, the GV80, the sedans. There's a reason why U.S. News and World Report rates most of their vehicles either number 1 in their categories or right there in the top 2 or 3. Blake Mesh, Jaron Guidry, big LSU fans, right there on Johnson Street in Lafayette. They'll deliver to you anywhere in the state of Louisiana. I don't care if you're in Baton Rouge, New Orleans, home in Shreveport. Do yourself a favor and deal with Genesis of Lafayette. Call them 877-856-2961. Schedule that test drive, and do please say TigerBait sent you over. And big LSU fans over at Genesis of Lafayette. All right, let's get into some more comments. Yeah, CB Allen. Now I know what it's like to be an Aggie. Yeah, breaking news. BK broke his wrist. He's at the hospital now. Yeah, he hit his fist on the table in his post game.
All right, real quick. Did that rage seem a little manufactured to you?
Maybe. I'll go watch it again.
I don't know.
Look, I will say this. If you look at the image we had on the front page of TigerBait for our live in-game chat that we do for every game, well, he sure looked wound tight to me. I thought he looked wound tight all game whenever they put the camera on him. He wanted this one. He needed this one. And like I've been saying leading into it, there's nothing on the schedule until Ole Miss comes to town that lets you get this nasty taste out of your mouth. And he's behind the 8 ball. And look, there's a reason why you've got Notre Dame fans in here enjoying it. And, it's you don't go look, he knows it. What's going to be the criticism? He knows what's going to be said without having to tune into any show. You're talking about $100 million coach, and your expectations are 9 wins. You spend $100 million on a coach.
Yeah, you expect more.
Yeah, and you don't expect to be 0-3 in openers.
Yeah, and look, here's the thing, guys. LSU still has everything in front of them. I know we're not in the mood for painting sunshine here, but the fact is this is a very manageable schedule. Your 2 hardest games you get at home, and favorable matchups leading into that, because Ole Miss plays a tough stretch right before that, and I think Alabama does as well. And they both come to LSU, and LSU has a bye week going into the Bama game, of course. LSU has a very manageable, workable schedule. You're just at a point where to get where you want to be, you only have one more hiccup left. one more hiccup. So that means of those 2 games where the teams look genuinely better than you, you're going to have to pull an upset to get where you want to go. You're going to have
This LSU football team has no margin for error in a lot of categories. They have no margin for error in the injury category. They have no margin for error in the penalty, in the way in turnovers. And why is that? I'll tell you why. There's not enough difference makers on both sides of the ball. You've got a bunch of very, very good football players. You got some very talented young players. You got multiple good offensive linemen. But, we're going to see. Where was Kyron Lacey in the second half?
He was quiet.
What the heck was that? The running game is still a problem. What is the solution there? I always like to say, come on, Frank. Never really liking the rotation at that position. I like what I saw out of John Emery. But one thing I want to see against Nicholls State, I want to see Caden Durham. I want to see what he can do. And this offensive line, I'd like to know what Bo Davis is saying to them behind closed doors. I don't think he was too happy. Is it a C+ grade? But I can say C+. But what is Bo Davis giving him? He might be giving him a D+. I don't think. I bet he's not happy. Yeah. And look, and I know, and Will Campbell, you ain't got to worry about him. He had those 2 penalties tonight. There's nobody going to be harder and tougher on themselves than him. He's going to bounce back. But yeah, Brian Burgess O-line was disappointing in run blocking.
Absolutely it was. Yeah, I mean, that's the fact of the matter is I think we have to accept that based off of last year and this year, we've seen 4 to 5 of these guys play full season. They were elite pass blockers last year. They were elite pass blockers tonight. They've never shown me anything in terms of getting nasty and being run blockers. Some guys are just good pass blockers and some guys aren't great run blockers. It's a very different tool set to be a great run blocker versus a great pass blocker.
CB Allen, hey, Preston, Mike, major props for calling it like it is and not sugarcoating, sucking up the BK, even if by omission, like ESPN 104. I don't know about sucking up the BK. Look, he's good to us. He gives us access. I don't think he's expecting anybody to tell lies on his behalf or sugarcoat it. I mean, the fact of the matter is it is natural if you cover LSU football and you've been doing it for any length of time and you go week by week and you look at the schedule and you're saying, okay, like in my case, I think in most years, the way the schedule would set up, which was certainly tougher on paper than this one, that was an 8-4 team. But then you go week by week and you say, okay, well, where are the 4 losses going to come from? You start saying, well, man, USC, they've got issues. Is LSU going to lose a 4th straight opener? No way. Or 5th straight, right?
5th straight, half a decade. They haven't won an opener in half a decade. 5th straight opener.
Ole Miss at home, Alabama at home, Oklahoma at home, Texas A&M with issues, but you play them there. You don't have Auburn this year. Florida is a mess. Arkansas is a mess. So it's natural to go crazy. But like Brian Lazar said in his column on Monday, LSU has 1 10-win regular season in the last 12 years. They don't grow on trees. And this team has too many personnel issues. It is the first year of Blake Baker and that new defense, but I do think there was some things there, some positives to go in that direction. But to me, too many guys in the media with that 10-2 that was just unrealistic.
I kind of have been informally, I haven't actually been tracking it, but I mean, it seems like the median was about 9.7 wins is what they are. Or I should say the mean was about 9.7. There was, for every guy going 9-3, there was about 2 or 3 going 10 wins. Edward Grimes here with a comment, and I'm going to address this because I actually did calculate this already. And let me make sure I'm being very adamant. I am not lobbying to fire Brian Kelly. I am not saying that's what you should do. I'm not saying what you shouldn't do. I'm just providing the answer here. By the end of the season, meaning December 31st, the buyout will be, I think, roughly $57.6 million. Because he's got $9 million annual contract. That's $90 million over 10 years. If he doesn't win a national championship, the buyout is 90% of the remaining value. So it's mostly all guaranteed. So you do the math there, 70% of of whatever 90% of 90 million is, and boom, you get that. Oh, I think we lost Mike again, guys. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness, man. All right, let's see. Let's get some more comments here while we wait on him to get out here. Yep, 57. Yep, 57.6 million. It's quite a bit, but Texas A&M proved that I guess teams are willing to pay what it takes to get LSU where it needs to be. Let's see here. Do we even have a goal line formation? Like any high school offense would have. That's a very good question, Amocat. That's one thing where I was frankly like, what the heck's going on here? In practice, they ran a lot of goal line sets. They ran a lot of these 12 formations where they had multiple big tight ends out there. And where the heck was Trades Green tonight? Where the heck was Comorian Pimpton other than one grab? I look at this and they had multiple situations where they could have thrown it up to one of the big guys deep down in the red zone, and I didn't see any of it. It seems like all this talk of Comorian Pimpton and Trades Green was just that, talk. No one was focusing on getting those guys the ball, and you had ample opportunities. And by the way, opportunities where what you did didn't work. So maybe you should look yourself in the mirror and say, yeah, maybe the 6'7" and 6'8" tight end do deserve a look in the red zone. Maybe we need to appreciate what Mason Taylor does, but just situationally shake it up a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Mike, what's going on with your power tonight, man?
I don't know what's going on. I think I might have an issue with a power strip or something, but my computer keeps resetting.
Really? Are you on
yeah.
a laptop or a desktop?
I'm on a desktop, powerful one.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the thing is about the desktop, it's not built in with a battery. So
Yeah.
it's kind of one of those things.
All right. And here we go. Capital City Grill, everybody. One of our TigerBait sponsors, locally owned, another one. We've experienced this place firsthand. Great club sandwiches, burgers, most everything on the menu, priced at $30 or below. And what a fantastic restaurant. Easy to get to, 100 Lafayette Street, downtown Baton Rouge. It's your Capital City Grill is your ideal lunch and dinner stop for your casual dining experience. Features a variety of sandwiches, burgers, seafood, pasta, and steaks with almost everything. Again, priced at $30 or below. And don't forget to go over there for Sunday brunch from 11 to 2. Their Sunday brunch is as good as anybody's in Baton Rouge. And that Eggs Benedict you see on the screen is what the missus had, and she loved it. And she is pretty much a breakfast snob, and she loves Capital City Grill. And in fact, we might be trying to get over there tomorrow for lunch. So book your reservation online at capitalcitygrill.net. But you really don't need reservations over there. Great lunch spot if you work downtown. And but again, their Sunday brunch after an LSU home game. Head over there next Sunday after the Nichols game. And get yourself a great brunch over at Capital City Grill. All right, let's get some more comments in here.
Get to that super chat. You need me to put it up?
Yeah.
Calm and rational tonight, Tiger fans. I like it.
Bryce Boudreaux, combat sports announcer with a super chat. Think of that. Fire Verge Osbury.
Well, does Verge deserve some criticism for scheduling these openers that LSU apparently can't win, or is it just one of those situations where, hey, you're the head football coach of LSU, we expect you to win these big games?
Yeah, I don't think that it's 100% that Verge Osbury says, I'm scheduling USC in Las Vegas, and head football coach, you can, that's how it's going to be, and take it or leave it. I think there's a whole lot of people that sign off on it. Scott Woodward, the head football coach, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
I mean, Verge is the one that takes the call, but he just doesn't schedule it without talking to other people.
I think that your job as an administration is to look at your strengths and weaknesses of your team and put your team in the best chance to be successful. And I think that looking at what Brian Kelly's done, you've got 3 examples of season openers, and thus far you've seen 3 vastly underprepared teams. And I think that you have to look at that as a genuine weakness, and you have to say, we need to give this guy a week 0 cupcake opener if we're going to be a supportive administration. And I think it's one of those things both. Yes, you're the head coach of Louisiana State, 3-time national championship since the BCS era. You're expected to go out and win these big games, but I think that also there can be some criticism thrown back to the scheduling.
Thanks for that super chat, Bryce.
Appreciate you. Yes. And another one here by Michael Duyon. If Kiffin beats Kelly again this season, I might jump on that crazy train to make Lane the head man, which, interestingly, of the,
Which in order to do that, you would have to come up with $60 or $65 million.
Plus whatever you'd have to buy him out at Ole Miss, plus whatever you'd have to pay him to be your head coach coming out.
Lane Kiffin is going to be the next head football coach of the Florida Gators.
Yeah, I could see that. Oh, yeah, I could see that. And that'd be scary, too, by the way. Lane Kiffin with that Florida speed.
I think something crazy is going to have to happen for that not to happen.
Yeah, and look, guys, I don't think that this.
And by the way, I'm not just saying that willy nilly. I've got sources on that. That's yeah.
That
I think
makes
that's happening.
an incredible amount of sense, and it actually kind of scares me a little bit. Kind of scares me, but it is what it is. Lane Kiffin is the one guy. Remember, we had all these coaches' names we were throwing out there. Lincoln Riley, Mel Tucker. Most of them have completely bombed out. Lincoln Riley, there's some debate as to whether, obviously tonight is a big notch in he's doing fine. But for the most part, the coaches LSU passed on haven't done very well, like Billy Napier.
Yeah, I don't even,
Lane Kiffin's the one who's
I wouldn't even know where to start with a hot board. Let's say Brian Kelly said, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm retiring at the end of the year. I wouldn't even know where to start with a hot board. Like, who are the coaches that you could get or you'd want to get,
Florida
State. A year ago, I would have said the first guy you'd want to have on your list is Mike Norvell.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Mark Novell, possibly.
Yeah.
I don't know what his contract situation is, but that's just where my brain goes.
I know for a fact before he got the Florida State job, LSU was his dream job.
Yeah. Well,
and with the ACC and all that stuff going on, and
it would make sense.
What happened to them with the playoffs last year, but that's a moot point. I don't.
Can
see
we agree?
LSU,
it's wildly premature.
Yeah,
it's wildly premature. I mean, look, if Brian Kelly goes 8-4
that's
this
what
year,
you do. That's what you do at 12:15 in the morning
after an opener lost. Look, it is a bit of overreaction time. I think it's one of those things where you have to be sincere and genuine and say, hey, look, BK, this isn't cutting it, man. It's been 3 years. You're expected to go out and win these big games. But, I mean, we don't know what's going to happen with this season. I mean, it could be an 11-1 season for all you know. It could be a 6-6 season. You react to what actually happens, not how you feel right now.
Y'all, please hit the like button for us. Much appreciative of you guys doing that. S-Facts, Brian Kelly reminds me of my ex-wife, arrogant, stupid, and incompetent.
Sounds like a lovely woman, man.
Yeah.
Great sense of humor, too, I hope.
Yeah. Trucking with Casper, my guy. Secondary is still absolutely trash.
It's not great.
That is the one group when I rewatch the game that I want to pay the most attention to. I particularly want to on the back end of the game when you had some newcomers in there. I want to really look at Spears and some other guys and see how they did and overall.
Spears got trucked on that final touchdown, by the way. Did you notice that after he came in for
Yeah.
Jordan Gilbert? All right, comments for the DBs. One thing I will say is at least it looked like this was a really good passing offense making really good plays. Did you see that catch? I don't even remember the name. Was it Hudson who made that just bonkers catch for USC? A lot of catches were highly contested and they just made good plays. There was a handful of, okay, well, there's the tight end streaking wide open there, but there was more tenacity than we saw at any point last year. I think about the touchdown pass that Ashton Stamps broke up where, yeah, he let the guy catch it, but he got in there and wiggled it free. There was a lot more tenacity from this defensive backs. They're just, they aren't close to a lockdown unit. They did give up 378 yards on 27 completions. They need some work. I think the rest of the defense is much better. I don't think these defensive backs are ready, and that's what we saw in fall camp. That's one of the reasons why I didn't go 10-2 because we never saw it from the DBs.
Terry Hilton, we have seen the same thing 3 years in a row, so it's not what we feel, it's what we see. Same old song and dance. BK isn't a finisher. I have to admit, during this game, I was having some deja vu where it was just all setting up. LSU missed opportunities, leaving points out on the field, and just not taking care of business and play calling, so forth. And look who it is. It's our buddy John Eads. I would have liked to see a timeout call before the 3rd and 8. You have 3 and you can't take them home. And also when USC was moving the ball down the field late and the D-line was noticeably tired.
Well, and you know what else I noticed on that final drive? They didn't bring any pressure. They were bringing pressure all night long, and it was making plays and doing their thing. And then all of a sudden, with the game on the line, you're just going to trust your DBs to make the same defensive backfield that had already gotten torched for 300 yards. You're going to trust those guys. All right, just go out there and make a play. Play some zone coverage, and we'll see what you could do. I didn't like that late game situation, but I think we all.
Who do you grade higher? And I don't have the answer because I want to watch it again. But who do you grade higher, the safeties or the corners?
Who was it that jumped on the ball? Was that Jordan Allen who jumped on the ball and broke it out, made like a Badger play? Look, I don't know, but I'm going to give it to the safeties, but I don't know. It's a real answer.
Texas Tiger with a super chat. Thank you for that. One of our long-time TigerBait subscriber. Thank you for that super chat. So many mistakes. Where do you start? 10 penalties for 99 yards?
10 for 99. I mean, I'll tell you exactly where I started. I wrote down 3 notes: running game, defensive backs, and penalties. That's where you start.
Yeah. Texas Tiger, man, thank you so much for that super chat.
Yes, thank you very much, man. We appreciate it.
Ammo Cat Stamps was good, got beat on a good throw.
I saw a lot of that. That's the stuff that doesn't upset me is sometimes you're going to get beat on a good throw. If you remember, Patrick Peterson got beat on a few really good throws to Julio Jones back in the day. Sometimes that happens. And I saw a lot of that tonight, but I also saw a lot of guys just running open, a lot of just messed up situations where you'd like to have better coverage. But, you know, hats off to Miller Moss and USC for playing a heck of a game. That Hudson guy is one hell of a player. Zachariah Branch is scary to cover, and, you know, they didn't do enough, but they did make some plays.
LSU for life 7. USA was way more physical. You have to give USC credit. They certainly have been hitting the weight room, and they were not soft, and they went toe to toe with LSU and got the win.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the defensive line was far more physical than the offensive line in the running game. Fun to see BK gaslight the entire state of Louisiana. Perkins, look, he was your leading tackler. It wasn't irrelevant. He was making some plays here and there. He just wasn't blitzing and making big turnovers or whatever. By the way, another thing I wanted to point out during this game, I did notice how many plays was USC this close to turning the ball over and held on to it. I think
they had 3 of them, right?
3 of them,
or at least 2.
Imagine LSU gets 2 of those turnovers. Now, one of them was a triple reverse where, boy, LSU should have gotten that. But I think I remember 2 more.
Or the tip ball in the air, Savion Jones and Whit Weeks.
That happened twice. That happens twice. Yeah, both of them. They almost got it there on one drive. And it's like, man, if you could have made, I argue, any one of those, I think there's a chance that you're walking away with a win here. But that's the thing. Coulda, shoulda, woulda. But at least with this year's defense, there were those near opportunities. Last year, it's just like, unless they throw it right to us, we're not really doing much.
Well, I'll tell you what, Preston's got his live show. You going? What time are you going tomorrow night, Preston?
I'm gonna go at my regular scheduled time. I thought about going earlier, but no, we're just gonna go at 8 p.m. Regular scheduled time. Me and Zach Nagy will be back, and man, we'll be letting you have it. Hopefully, I'll have some extra time to do some good game notes and figure out what the heck happened with this team.
Absolutely. We got everything for you on TigerBait.com about the post Brian Lazar's instant analysis piece right here on our YouTube channel. We've already got BK and Garrett Nussmeyer. I've got more player interviews from Allegiant. I had a fantastic video guy there in the stadium working for me, an Emmy Award winner, and he's loaded me up with a lot of content. I'm a lot of video up on TigerBait on premium tomorrow. And so you're going to want to subscribe for that. We're going to have a lot of different angles on TigerBait.com of the game. So you'll want to check that out. Subscribe for $1. I think you'll like that. And so Preston tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. Preston and I we get BK at a normal noon on Tuesday. No BK Preston tomorrow because of Labor Day, and or today we're at 12:30 in the morning. And so BK Presser will be Tuesday, and then Buddy Sanjay and I will be 8 o'clock on Wednesday night. So anything you want to add on the way out, Preston?
Guys, I appreciate y'all for being here. This is a great channel. It's been growing each and every year. Make sure you subscribe, hit that bell to keep up with our live shows. I just really appreciate all y'all. I appreciate Notre Dame fans for joining us tonight and making our show successful.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Thanks y'all for tuning in. Hit that like button. Subscribe to TigerBait.com. We got some nice stuff wrapping this one up, and more analysis coming your way throughout the week. And there's going to be a big recruiting weekend next weekend as well for multiple sports. So we're going to be on top of that all week. All right, everybody. Y'all have a good Labor Day, and we'll see you on the other side. Good night.